Hey everyone, I'm Abadesi. I'm the founder of Hustle Crew, and we are a careers community for underrepresented professionals just like you. We want to give you the skills and the tools that you need to maximize your potential in a workplace that's plagued with bias and discrimination. And what we're here to talk about today is negotiation. I know, it's a tough topic. It's something we all want to do, but probably struggle to do. And what I want to do over the next few minutes is teach you tools and frameworks that have worked for me. I started in the tech industry as a junior person on a basic salary, and over the last 10 years have managed to not only become an entrepreneur, running a profitable six-figure business, but also a VP in a tech company on a six-figure salary. And trust me, I used to hate negotiation too, but I think there are three kind of principles that you can own to get better at negotiating. The first one really is your mindset, the way that you prepare for a negotiation. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. The second thing you need to do is practice the language of communicating, and also practice how you're going to respond when people shut you down and people say no, because negotiations are scary. And the third thing you need to do is think about the execution. When you actually get to that conversation with your line manager, with your recruiter, how are you going to keep cool, calm, and collected so you can say that big number that you want and that you deserve without freaking out? So as you can see, when it comes to negotiating to maximize our earnings, there is a lot to learn and practice. Awesome, so let's start with part one. Part one is all about preparing and getting into the right mindset to take risks, embrace potential rejection and failure, and ultimately start the conversation that you deserve to start so you can ensure that you are earning your market rate. And I know what you're thinking, whoa, information overload, she's already said so much to me. What is my market rate? I don't know. And also rejection, failure, all these are things I really want to avoid and that I'm afraid of. Trust me, I can relate. I used to also fear failure and fear hearing no when I start a negotiation conversation with my manager or with a recruiter. So maybe I'll talk to you a bit about how I got over that fear so I could really get myself into a mindset of knowing that I deserve to earn more. There are layers to this. I'm going to start at the most macro layer. Research shows us that one of the reasons why men are so much more effective at negotiating and getting bigger bonuses and bigger salaries, and that's the gender pay gap for you, is that we live in a society that's normalized behavior of men being assertive and men asking for what they want. That kind of relates to old-fashioned gender roles. When you watch movies from the 50s and 60s and you see dad coming home from the office with his briefcase and mom in the kitchen getting dinner ready. In many ways, we still hold ourselves accountable to those values, even though we don't agree with them. And what's really interesting about that is that when women assert themselves in the workplace, for example, when women ask for more, push for bigger bonuses, on a subconscious level, we don't really respond positively to that, and we actually start to see those women as being too aggressive or not being a team player. This is actually known as likability bias. One of the reasons why it's so important for women like you or any of you from marginalized groups to really normalize the behavior of asserting yourselves and asking for your value is because you owe it to future generations to challenge that bias and normalize asking for your worth. So that's how I've kind of come on this journey of basically being okay with asking for more, even if I'm going to get a no. I think on a personal level, one of the things that's also helped me be more willing to take that risk, potentially fail, potentially hear no, is just thinking of my own personal goals and my own personal motivations. I don't really want to work forever. I like going to festivals, I like going out with my friends, I like traveling, and it's really hard to do those things without disposable income. The cost of living is always rising, and as you get older, you have more demands on your budget. So frankly, you just need to always be earning more if you want to keep living the standard of life that you deserve. So those two principles really help me shift my mindset. The third thing actually comes down to the psychology of productivity. There's a lot of research that shows for people to excel in their roles and be productive, they need to feel fulfilled. And one of the ways research shows us we feel fulfilled is when we feel like we're being paid for the level at which we're performing, and when we feel like we're being paid what we deserve based on how we're placed within the market. So whether you are a junior marketing exec or a senior key account manager, you can use websites like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, PayScale, even Twitter to understand what people that do your role in your area earn. And if you're earning below that, that's the starting point of your conversation, because there's no reason why, when data like that is easily available, you should be earning less than the average. Okay, so let's move on to part 2 of negotiating like a pro and really maximizing your earnings in the workplace. What I'm going to focus on in this section is practicing, because I really believe that practicing the conversation of negotiation is what's going to make you feel like you deserve the amount that you're asking for. It's also going to make you feel more comfortable putting that number out there, putting that number on the table, whether that's for your line manager or for your recruiter. And finally, the good thing about practicing is that it's also going to allow you to prepare for any of the scenarios that might present themselves. Maybe someone will say no. Maybe someone will say it's not the right time. Maybe someone will say they hired someone to do this role for less. Whatever the potential response might be, you want to put yourself in a position where you're not caught off guard and you can respond to any of the rejections, any of the no's, or hey, if you're lucky, maybe even the yeses, in a cool, calm, and collected way. So let's start with some of the things that I use to help myself practice. What's the starting point? What's that number? Now, hopefully you looked at those websites I mentioned earlier and you found some really useful data points about what your market rate is for the role that you do in the region where you're based. That is really, really key, because trust me, I know how awkward it feels, especially as a woman or any other underrepresented person, to say to someone, I'm worth 50K a year, 100K a year, 200K a year. It's not easy, especially if you're really jumping salaries into a new role or into a promotion. Now, I like to think about Cindy Gallop whenever I find myself in negotiation, because her negotiation strategy when she's being booked for talks or anything like that is, to quote her, to say the biggest number she can say without laughing. Now, I'm not saying we should all pull a Cindy Gallop, but I'm saying we should embrace that energy, because the truth is the data is out there. There's a gender pay gap, there's an ethnicity pay gap. I'm pretty sure that whatever number you think is too crazy to say out loud, someone from a dominant group has said that, maybe even 2x that. So just bear that in mind. Find a friend, a mentor, someone at work, someone who you trust to practice that negotiation conversation with. And when you're practicing the negotiation conversation, you need to practice what I like to call flashpoints. So those are the sentences where, if they play out in the conversation in real time from your line manager or from your recruiter, could be the ones that really spark an emotional reaction in you. So it might be something that feels incredibly personal. It might be something that feels like a microaggression. It might be something that feels derogatory. If you can role play how you'll respond to a shutdown, like, you're not at that level yet, I don't think you're ready, I don't think you've done the work for this role, then it can be really helpful for you to have your argument prepared. The final part that's really, really important in this section is for you to have your list of achievements, skills, experiences ready to go in a really concise, effective way that focuses on the numbers and focuses on the results. If you're a salesperson, you want to talk about all the deals that you closed in the last year. If you're a marketing person, you want to talk about all the campaigns that you launched and the engagement that you got. Whatever it is, you should be ready to give the evidence that justifies the number. You should have some amazing one-liners that show the person on the other side of the table exactly why they need to keep you on their team. Okay, exciting stuff. We have come to the third and final part of this negotiation masterclass. And I like to call this section execution. Now, the reason I call it that is because this is the time to put all of that work for preparation and like mindset development, practice, role plays with your friends or your mentor, into practice with your actual real life negotiation. Now, this might be happening in a performance review, over a call, maybe it's happening in the office. This is game day, match day, the time for you to really perform based on your planning and practice. So what are some things that you can do to get ready for match day, for the day of executing this negotiation strategy? Well, depending on the scenario, whether it's a meeting or whether it's a Zoom call, signpost to the person on the other side, hey, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And in particular, I'm really looking forward to discussing my salary and my compensation for the coming year. It's really important that they know that you're ready to talk money and you want to leave, ideally, with a confirmation if your request is going to be made. The second thing that you can do is smile. Just be positive. You know, whoever you're going to be interacting with is going to have to be an ally for you. They're going to have to go to finance, go to accounts, go to their boss, and pitch for you to get the pay rise or the salary that you want. So it's really important that you go into this interaction with a collaborative mindset. A lot of us, when we're asking for stuff, we kind of see things in an adversarial way. It's me versus you. It's me against the world. When it comes to a negotiation, you're working together. They've got information that you need about budget, about timing. So go in there with the most positive vibes that you can think of. It's also really important that if the conversation doesn't go your way, you start hearing excuses, reasons why it can't happen, you remain positive. You remain what I like to call relentlessly pleasant, because it might be a no for now, but it doesn't mean it's a no 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or 12 months from now. The onus is on you to return to that conversation. So by staying positive, you can make the person on the other side of the table feel motivated to push for you and motivated to get you the salary that you want. That was the final thing I really wanted to touch on. You might not get the answer you want, you might not get the outcome that you want, but you have to remember that the negotiation ends when you say so. You don't have to abandon the project of getting a higher salary if on this one particular occasion it doesn't work out. Why don't you walk away from that, come back on email and say, hey, thank you so much for the feedback. Thank you so much for taking me through the reasons. I would love to revisit this in 3 months' time because getting compensation at my market rate is really important to me and I think a really big driver in my productivity. So hopefully all of these tips are going to be super useful for you. Make sure you keep following Hustle Crew Live for more careers tips. Is there something that you wanted to get out of this workshop that I didn't answer? Let us know. Send us a DM, email hello@hustlecrew.co. We'll be sharing more videos like this over the coming months. So I want to make sure that we're giving you the answers to the questions you need most.